Welcome once again to the Reach Your Viewpoint podcast. And today I'm excited because I am here with somebody very special. And before I introduce her formally, I'm going to tell you how we met. We were both, as it happened, on our way out of Las Vegas late at night, the old red eye. And we were both sitting in row 30-something. And I was reading a magazine, it was an IT magazine, and suddenly the woman sitting next to me said, "What is ITIL? What is that about?" and we talked for the entire flight. People around us probably got a little miffed because we were having this conversation, but it was great. And Kate Morgan is here. We've been in touch several times over the years, of course. And we follow each other on LinkedIn and other platforms. Great. That's interesting. It's great to have Kate. See, I got it on the podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much. So good to see you again.
Always a pleasure. And for those of you who are frequent listeners to Reach Your Viewpoint, you know that I go into people's LinkedIn profiles and try to ferret out some snippets that are fun. And Kate says that she's your go-to partner when it comes to all things peopling. I like that. And she just says about her business, which we'll get to. We work across talent acquisition and HR because getting someone in the door is just the beginning. Mm-hmm. Cool bits. And posts frequently on LinkedIn. It's unclear if it's thought leadership or just therapy with a keyboard. But hey, you might be amused. And we often are, Kate.
Thank you.
So
you may be enabling me, though.
There you go. So follow Kate on LinkedIn. It's always a pleasure to see what you're doing. So Boston Human Capital Partners is your company. You founded 14 plus years ago, right?
Yes,
that's amazing to me that it's that long ago because I knew you before.
Yeah.
It's 14 years. And so tell me more about what you do exactly, and we'll dig into some of the details of that. And we'll get to your dew point, which, of course, was starting Boston Human Capital Partners, becoming a founder. So tell me about that.
Happy to. So yes, Boston Human Capital Partners, we're really designed to help companies think about their people. So we started with purely talent acquisition, but again, we started seeing a lot of challenges and issues. Unfortunately, I think on a lot of cases, business is easy. It's the people that make it hard. And so a lot of founders, particularly technical founders, they can wrestle with their people strategies. And so that's really where we come into play.
It's interesting that you say, especially technical folks that wrestle with the people side. And that kind of echoes something a previous guest, Kate McDermott, said that telling people to adapt their frameworks, telling technical people to adapt their frameworks is tough because they don't think about the people side of it. She works on human-centered design for IT. Mm-hmm. So she had a similar comment about people in the technical realm. Do you have a specific reason for thinking that? Is it just something you've learned over time?
I just saw it over and over again. So every time we go into situations, even when we go in from the talent acquisition perspective, so we're going in to help as consultants. So we're not commissioned headhunters. We will direct source people and bring them all the way through to offer stage. But it's even just how people think about hiring. When we think about job descriptions, for instance, usually they're plagiarized, one, and two, they're usually just addressing the problem today. And they're not really thinking about what success will look like 12 months from now. So we look at the success stage job description approach. Not that if you have a job description, it's going to be the end all. You're going to post it, and all of a sudden you're going to have swarmed with candidates. It's more about the manager really thinking about what that person will be doing 12 months from now if they are successful, because then we can actually use it as a template for how we find the correct person, at least from a skill set perspective. So that's that we look at it from that perspective, but then we also need to understand culture. And so we have some tools that we offer for our clients to help really nail down culture. Culture for a long time, because of during the heyday, was really just perks. They were, hey, we have the free lunch, we have, maybe 4-day work week, we have all these things. That's not culture. Those are perks. So we want to figure out who's going to be the best person for that particular company. We're all raised being told that we're unique. Well, your company is just as unique. So that's why it's so critical that people think about how to not just, because culture is going to happen whether you invest in it or not. So you might as well invest in it, because that's how you're going to scale. Chaos doesn't scale very well. And the whole notion wasn't born from me. It was born from Jim Collins and, Good to Great. And Gina Wickman had kind of expanded on it, on how to kind of drill down to it. But we got away from it. And I think a lot of it, we got away from it because we had all these companies hiring HR people. Well, HR people aren't business owners. They don't think entrepreneurial. And that entrepreneurial mind is going to say, well, we need to know what really is our culture, as opposed to putting some aspirational words on a wall. And so that's what we really want to help. And that's what we think about when we go in and help our clients.
And you also work in the entrepreneurial space yourself, right?
Very
You're
much so, yeah.
EO and very involved on that. So tell me more about that too.
Yeah. So I joined the Entrepreneurs Organization. I joke about this story, but it was pretty scary. I was 3 years into my company. I had been very successful. I was over $2 million at that point, and I thought I was faced with a lawsuit. And what do? Well, I called my dad. And I told him everything that was going on. I was just like throwing up all of this, oh my gosh, panic and anxiety. And he had a long pause and he said, well, that's why you get paid the big bucks. And I went, shoot. All of a sudden, I felt very, very alone. And so I had a friend refer me into the Entrepreneurs Organization. And my first EO forum meeting, I did the same thing, told the same story. And a woman, she was actually on her second company. She reaches over, pats my hand. She said, that's cute, your first lawsuit. And as you know, we're New Englanders originally, right? And
Yeah.
we're kind, not necessarily nice, but it was exactly what I needed, because it really helped me remove the emotion from the situation and look at it as, this isn't personal. It's just how things happen. And when I took the emotion away, I was able to get through it. I didn't get sued. Everything ended up fine, but it was really grounding. So I've been in EO now 11 years.
That's great. And so it's support, it's advice, it's direction, it's all of those things.
Yeah. So, and I think EO globally has almost 20,000 people globally. In the Boston chapter, we have about 100. I am the chair for the accelerator program, so that's everybody trying to get over $1 million, and it's a highly. It's interesting because it's an accelerator. Most accelerators tend to be 3 months, and they kick you out of the nest, and they're like, "See ya, good luck with that." In the accelerator EOA, the accelerator program, you're in there for a year, and you can be in there for 3 years plus. So it's a full blown membership where we're just going to help you get over the million dollar mark, because here's what nobody understands or realizes: it's easier to manage a $3 million company than a company that's 7 million. Once you get over that $1 million mark, then you start to be able to afford resources and added support. You can take yourself out of being a delivery person. You can start plugging and playing new members or even outsource services to make your job so much easier.
That's a very interesting point. So there's there are some dew points within the growth of the company as well as personally.
Absolutely.
That's interesting, and I hadn't thought about that aspect, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yes, getting past that particular stage is really important. I've seen
Totally.
that over and over again in my career in all its aspects.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing, cool beans. So tell me about your book. When is it coming out? What's the title? Tell me all the good stuff. Come on, dish.
Happy to. Yeah. Custom Fit is coming out July 29th. It's already available for pre order on Amazon. And Paul English generously wrote my foreword. Paul English was the founder of Kayak. He's done many other great things. He's also the founder of Winter Walk and the Embrace for his nonprofit. So just a phenomenal person. But the Custom Fit is really a straight talking guide for entrepreneurs and business owners on thinking about their talent and how to find the best possible hires, because again, it's your people that are going to move you forward. A Kateism I love to share with people is when people say everybody says they stole my idea. Nobody says they stole my execution. And that is so critical, because execution has everything to do with not only the founder and the founder's mindset, but the people that they employ to actually execute.
That's a really good point. Nobody stole my execution. I like that. I like that. And yeah, if only we get to that point where we're so good, everybody's imitating us. And I actually did some thinking about that and how you probably don't want to be the next such and such company. You don't want to imitate somebody, but getting ideas from them is a really good thing. Where you look at certain aspects of that organization and say, well, that's successful and that makes sense to me, and that's something we could do in a similar way. That's different from that's
Absolutely. Well, and kind of dialing back to when we think about our clients, or even referencing the entrepreneurs organization, is, and the accelerator program. So we put people into these peer groups. And the beautiful thing is, some of the things I learned the most came out of my forum from a gentleman who runs a home improvement company. Now, just for, to qualify it, I think it's an $11 million home improvement company. So it wasn't, this small rinky dink shop. He was just so disciplined. And I compare what I learned from him versus, and my clients, my ICP, my ideal customer profile, VC backed startups. I learned more from him about everything from ESOPs to, just the structure of my company, to thinking about my execution. So I think it's really incredible that you can actually go into these various different industries, take bites, the bits and pieces that you really want to repurpose, and you can apply them. Because again, businesses don't, that's not really the challenge as much as the people aspect.
and that's something I always advise people to do in my line of work too, is look at what's happening and some of the smartest things I've learned about IT have come from the field of medicine, like alarm fatigue, things like that. I was originally studied for medicine. We learned about it in IT when all the cybersecurity stuff started going off, blinky lights and flashing and buzzers and all that stuff, and we could, turned it off because why? Same reason nurses did.
Yeah,
You can learn amazing amounts by watching what's going on in other industries, I think, too. Good point.
absolutely.
And this is something that comes up all the time when people talk about hiring. And it's, do I hire for skills or do I hire for cultural fit? And there's a little trickiness there because actually you probably have a lot to say on that. But one of the things that I think about is that do you really want somebody who just fits with your culture, which means your culture is going to continue the same way it is, or somebody who can possibly augment your culture and improve your culture? So they're maybe not an exact fit, but they have enough of a perspective and you have enough of a perspective to see how they can contribute. Is that making
Yeah.
sense?
So I see. I know exactly what you're thinking. I think of it with more science. So I'll use this sort of analogy of the dog park because my team and we study communication styles. And if you go to a dog park, you're going to see little clumps of dog things happening, right? You're going to see the terriers kind of hang out with the terriers and the labs. They're always, playing in the water and stuff. And you see these little cliques happening among dogs. So the fascinating thing is it's just dogs that they understand and they get each other. So looking at people and saying, oh, they'll add something to the culture is kind of dangerous because when you're interviewing, everybody's on their best behavior. And actually, even in my own team, I don't see the real person come out until they're in the job for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
After 6 months, I'm not talking about like night and day, but you just see them start to come out of their shells. I don't even want to say shells, but they're just a little bit more open. So the way we look at culture is more about help us understand your core values. And again, those core values tend to be just aspirational words. But the way we look at core values is if you can say you can fire somebody if they don't do something or have that core value, then it's not a core value. So I had this one accelerator I was working with, and God bless them. They had work life balance as a core value, but then they were really upset when they had an employee at 3 o'clock punch out because they had to go pick up their kid. And not that this person was upset about that action. They just expected that after the kid was picked up, they'd go back to work. Nope. Next morning. Well, the deliverable was the next morning. And so the owner of the business ended up having to finish the project 6 a.m. to have it completed by 9. And so that's why you really have to think about the core values. And then when you're starting to look at hiring, hire based on those core values. So, and I think this is really important. I'm on the wrong side of 50. So I share that because when we start thinking about generations, the new generations, they're looking for more structure. Like I'm an Xer, so I can be like, oh, we were raised feral and all that, which okay, we were, but because we were raised feral, we went out and sought our own identity. For millennials and Gen Z, we start to see the people are looking for a little bit more structure, a little bit more guidance. What they're really thinking about is give me a norm that I can adhere to. And so when I think of culture, I think of you take your core values, you make it an edict, and then it becomes your ethos. When you have ethos, that becomes a norm. And when you have a norm that people feel comfortable, they feel safe, they're a willing participant. They're excited about their culture.
Interesting. That's a really interesting perspective. one of the things that I heard about and talked to people about in my analyst role, talking to different companies and seeing what they're doing, some companies that have advanced AI driven systems are looking at things like analyzing the aspects of some employees that make them successful and then applying that to their interviewing and talent acquisition tools. Do, do you see a value in that, or are we getting ahead of ourselves there? Is it a
Yeah.
human? What do you
I
think?
I tell my team, I tell anybody in my orbit, you should probably try to figure out how to use AI for about 30% of your day. I don't necessarily believe AI is replacing people. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
will reduce the level of data, entry, data science, even, with vibe coding. You're not probably going to need the same level of engineers, but candidate selection, I think you still need a lot of the people, feels in order to really think things through. Now, if you're with a big company, sure, but big companies, I don't really get the same sense of identity as you would with, say, a company with 100 people or less. There's a lot more feels with those earlier stage companies or smaller
Sure.
companies.
Yeah, and the communications inside smaller companies are very different from what they are like in large companies. Very, very, very different. So, and I think I agree with you about AI. I've been a staunch advocate of AI for a long time, but I also believe that it works best as an augmenter,
Yeah,
not as a replacement,
yeah.
because it gets very dangerous when we get into that replacement idea, and we can lose customers, we can lose entire businesses if we get it wrong,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think we're all seeing it when you look at your inbox. If you have CEO on your title, you are inundated with AI spam. And I'll tell you something else. I look at LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is, you're seeing all of these people creating content. I'm using air quotes because I can smell AI on a LinkedIn post a mile away. Now, I think you can use it for editorial review. I've trained mine to be very have my tone, which is pretty sassy at times. But about
What? You sassy Kate?
yes, a little bit here and there. And so I've been impressed with, but I tell my chat GPT to zhuzh it up, and that's what it does. And it's so funny. I just had asked it to zhuzh something up, and all it did was add a hyphen instead of a period. I'm like, wow, okay. Jinxie, as it named itself, really feels a good connection with my style. So
Cool. Well, there you go. So, what's next for Boston Human Capital Partners? What's
mm.
next for you in EO? And we know you have your book coming out, but aside from that, what's next for you?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about our growth. So I am a very transparent leader, so I'm not shy about sharing the fact that in October of 2022, the software market kind of took a beating. So we suffered some pretty significant losses on the revenue perspective. We grew 20% last year. My goal is to get to another, at least 17%, maybe 20%. And it's really just expanding our footprint in the market. So, yeah, we're at a time where a lot of companies are struggling, and in my particular, this sounds super Machiavellian, but I'm here because I have a team, and I look at it from the perspective of when I employ my team, I'm also taking care of their families. I'm paying their mortgage. I have to do the best I can as a leader. And so what I'm looking at is I need to steal, um, just clients. I need to be the number one out there, and that's in part why I ended up writing the book because I wanted to expand my footprint. It's kind of funny. While we're Boston based, we've been national, but we actually work on an international level. So I think that's what I'm super excited about. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't consider myself a business owner. The difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur is entrepreneurship is all about creativity. And for me, in hard times, when markets kind of are wonky, that's where my creativity steps up because it's how we're going to get out of this mess. And anybody that survives, because it's a as the gentleman who wrote Simple Numbers, Greg Crabtree says, we're in a knife fight right now. And because I have survived, the .com, telecom, 9/11, and then the recession, I am better equipped to be successful coming out of this than somebody probably 15 years younger than me.
That's also a very interesting perspective. Experience teaches. Our scars matter, and
Absolutely.
it's in a whole number of ways. Which is a whole train of thought I could go into, but we're not going to do that. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. And it's so good to see you. And I'm sure we'll have to do a little bit of chat after, but so good to see you. And thank you once again.
My
Kate Morgan,
absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Boston Human Capital Partners, people. Check them out. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.